Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the fifth episode of Wednesday Refocus at 7. Today, we have with us a very special guest. But before we go into what the guest does and how you can learn from her, I want to introduce a little bit about this show, Wednesday Refocus at 7. So, if you have been following the previous episodes, you would know that this is the show where we talk to people who are in interesting careers outside from the normal careers of engineering and medical. So that and we always have a special guest every week at 7 p.m. And that is why this is called Wednesday Refocus at 7, so we can learn about new and interesting careers. So today's guest we have with us is a growth marketer at Swapstack, and her name is Vidya. So let me introduce you to Vidya.
Hey, Anaksha.
Hey,
Hi.
Anaksha.
And hello,
Hi.
everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hi Vidya, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thank you.
having me
Thanks for
here.
having me here. So, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself to the people who are watching?
So hello, everyone.
Hello
I'm
everyone.
Vidya. I work as a growth marketer for Swapstack, and I actually come from a physics background and eventually got into the marketing field. So, that's about me in
That's
short.
about me in short.
And currently,
And
I'm working for
currently, I'm working
Swapstack,
for
and
Swapstack.
Swapstack is a marketplace where we help newsletter publishers connect with appropriate advertisers who want to sponsor their newsletters. So, yeah, that's about me.
That sounds really interesting. We are going to go into details of all of them, like how you started from a physics background and moved into that. So, can you give us a little bit introduction about your career journey? Like as you mentioned, you have a background in physics. So, how did you move from a physics background into being a growth marketer? How was the transition like?
Yeah. Definitely. I
Definitely,
actually
I
graduated
actually
as
graduated as
physics in
physics
physics
in physics.
with my master's. So after that, I found my love for programming and coding. So I started exploring more about data science and Python programming and everything. And eventually, when I started working for a startup as an intern with these programming skills, I found out that I'm more interested in solving the business problems rather than just whatever the programming coding and has to solve. So I was eventually introduced by that same startup to work on some marketing problems as well. So that's how my first step into marketing has begun. And after that, I started freelancing on my own because of COVID and everything. Everyone was exploring their own skills. So I started exploring more about that, and I got into the startup environment. And I actually eventually started my own newsletter. And when I started my newsletter and wanted to grow my own newsletter, I was looking for platforms where I can monetize and start finding sponsors for my own newsletter. And that's how I found Swapstack, where I'm currently working on. So I was actually first one of the first users of Swapstack, and I got in touch with one of the founders, while helping them with bugs and all and everything. And I was also into helping them with ideas on how they can better their platform, etc. And when I heard that they were looking for interns in the growth marketing field, and the actually the job posting was created in such a way that they were looking for someone who is into newsletter field, and who's also a publisher. It's a bonus thing for them, and also who was into no code and everything, and who also wants to grow their own newsletter publication, plus also help other newsletter publishers grow their newsletters and find advertisers for sponsors and everything. Since the the job description was exactly for me, so I thought of approaching them, and I did that with the help of my friend Janelle, who also recommended me to that job blog post. And they eventually gave me this work, take home assignment where they listed all these problems and everything. And in that problems, they asked me to actually solve the, not everything, but yeah, to show my skills as a growth marketer. They asked me to solve a few questions, and few of them were like, how do you plan on increasing our newsletter side of the marketplace? Like, how do you want to bring on more newsletter publishers joining Swapstack? So that's one thing I was actually doing even before they were asking. Like, I was recommending whoever comes to me to go to Swapstack and join that to monetize their newsletter. And one of the ways that actually worked is to improve our word of mouth communication about Swapstack, and that happens when you interact with more newsletter publishers. And when you create that kind of word of mouth, it's very natural for others to recommend your product. So yeah, that's how I solved that those few questions. But yeah, eventually me and the founders really connected on that level of passionate about solving newsletter publisher problems, and also passionate about solving marketers and founders problems by helping them find relevant newsletters so they can reach their ideal audience through sponsorships and newsletter marketing.
That's actually so amazing. And you just said that you were one of the first users of Swapstack. So I think it's like a dream for people. If they like a product, if they do something related to it, if they can get a job there, it's like a dream. So congrats on that amazing job. I'm so happy for you. And I think you are also doing an amazing job, right? We will talk about that definitely. But before we go into that, can you explain for our audience what exactly does a growth marketer do?
Okay, great. Yeah, good question. So, growth marketer, in a traditional sense, actually tries to come up with experiments. They are also called as A by B experiments, to understand which one is getting you more users. If your goal is to get to more users for your product, they do different experiments. So for example, in content writing, there are different kinds of content writing. You can write blog articles, you can write social media articles, you can, and even in blog articles, you can write listicles, you can write original researched articles, etc. But you never know which one is exactly working for you. So growth marketers come in this picture, and they help you understand which one is performing really well by doing some kind of data analysis, and segmenting users into understanding which user is giving you what kind of behavior. Is it positive, is it negative, are they staying on your app, or they are dropping out of your app? So these are the things which growth marketers do, to conduct experiments and give you results about which experiment is performing really really well, and which has the potential to grow your user base or your product or your revenue in the for the future. So yeah, that's what growth marketers do.
That sounds really interesting. And, I think there are many people who might have that skill. Like, they might have that intuition or the necessary skills, but they might not know that such a job exists. So I
Exactly.
hope that, whoever is watching, you know that there's a job called growth marketer. And we are also going to talk about how to get into this growth marketing career. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about Swapstack, because a lot of the people who are here today, I'm sure many of them are writers as well. And
Yeah.
writers are always looking for new income sources, right? A new way to earn money from their writing. And Swapstack helps writers earn from their newsletters. So, can you tell us a little bit about Swapstack, its vision, and your role in Swapstack?
Yeah, definitely. And I, before answering your question, I totally agree about, having growth marketing skills, but you might not know these skills are actually applied in growth marketer. And a year ago, if you had asked me, if you had told me that I would be working as a growth marketer, I would be asking, what does a growth marketer do? Just like you asked a few minutes before, because it's not very well known in the, community of writers, or, very like in the community of whoever is into programming and stuff. So yeah, I would definitely ask people to check it out on Google or do some research, and you might be understand it better than me. So yeah, that's one thing. And to answer your question, yeah, coming back to Swapstack, that's my favorite topic. Swapstack helps newsletter publishers monetize their newsletter, and it does that in a three different ways. One important way is that it connects advertisers and newsletter publishers who are looking for sponsorships, and who are also advertisers who want to sponsor, and newsletter publishers who want to get sponsored. They We have a marketplace for these people to connect with each other, and that's called as newsletter gallery or brand gallery, depending on how you sign up on the marketplace. So that's one way we connect advertisers and publishers, and you can directly pitch the advertiser or the publisher, whoever you would be joining as. Since we have writers today, I would be talking in the writer perspective. So if you're a writer and would like to monetize your newsletter, then you can sign up as a writer on Swapstack platform, and you can go to the brand gallery and find relevant advertisers who might be interested in sponsoring your newsletter. And this happens when you have audience that might appeal to the advertiser. So for example, there's a productivity app called Todoist, and if you're writing a newsletter which is mostly into productivity, all these kinds of self improvement articles, and if you're curating a newsletter like that, then you can pitch to the advertiser like Todoist. And once they receive your pitch, they would be reading that and they accept it, and you can start forming your long term relationship with the advertiser. This is one way, which is like direct sponsorships, and the other way is campaigns. This is mostly on the advertiser side of the dashboard, but campaigns enable advertisers and publishers to get sponsored in a very easy format. Like in the marketplace, we do have a lot of back and forth communication between the advertiser and the publisher, but campaign solves this problem by enabling advertisers to choose a bunch of publishers to sponsor, and they connect with the newsletter publishers to see if they are interested in getting sponsored by this advertiser, and if they say yes, they give the content to the publisher to run the ad in a so and so date, and they get paid once the campaign is run by the publisher. And the third important way is what I'm actually wanted to talk a lot about, is through plug and play affiliate deals. So plug and play is our in-house affiliate deals program, where we list down all the pre-approved sponsored ads by the advertisers, so the newsletter writer can run these affiliate deals on their newsletter issues whenever they want. They don't have to go to the advertiser and ask permission to run the deal, and they can get paid as soon as they convert their one of their users into the user of the product of the affiliate deal, whichever they are running. To give you an example, we have an affiliate deal by Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a really popular newsletter in the business, finance, and marketing, marketing related areas. So if you refer a subscriber to this Morning Brew newsletter, you would be getting paid at least 2.5 to $3 for every subscriber. So this is how affiliate deal works, right? And there are not just these Morning Brew type of affiliate deals. There are also D2C deals. There are also subscription based deals. So you would be getting a paid anywhere between $3 to $100. Few even are listed as $300 per referrer. So this is one of the easiest and most recommended way to monetize your newsletter if you're just getting started, and if you want to understand how monetization works on your newsletter. So yeah, that's about Swapstack and what we do. And there are different ways of earning through your newsletter, and these are the three ways which we currently support on Swapstack.
That's actually amazing and very interesting because of how many different ways Swapstack is helping writers monetize a newsletter, right? So when I announced that I'm doing an interview with you, one of my friends asked me this question. She has a newsletter and it has less than 1,000 subscribers, and she has been growing it for about a year. So her question was that how do you do brand collaborations without feeling guilty, because she was feeling that sense of guilt that her audience might not enjoy these collaborations, or they might think it's too spammy. So do you have any words for people who have who have smaller audience, very engaged audience? How can they go about doing brand collaborations without being too spammy, or making their readers feel alienated?
Yeah, and really good questions. And I think there are three questions here. The first one is the feeling guilty of getting sponsored ads on your newsletter, and I want to address that because it's a really important question. And I have also gone through that the same feeling when I started my own newsletter and started accepting more sponsors on my newsletter. Oh, by the way, my newsletter is called as the Curious Bunch, and I've been monetizing my newsletter through sponsorship ads from 500 subscribers. To be really precise, around 450 subscribers, I got my first advertiser, and currently I have around 1200 subscribers. I'm really slow at growing, but yeah, I've been having sponsors continuously for every week and every issue I send out. So yeah, the first time I decided to go with sponsored ads, I also went through this feeling of guilt and whether my readers would like it or not. And yes, this is a perfectly justified feeling, because you don't want to annoy your readers and lose them as subscribers in the long term, right? And the thing is, one of the mindsets we have about ads is that ads are usually considered as spammy, not so valuable at all. And they are usually clickbaity, and doesn't provide any value either to the reader or to the advertiser. So I think this is the kind of mindset we have been living in, and that is also actually being practiced by so many people, because they don't really follow the ethics of targeting the ads to the people. But the newsletter marketing field is one of the non-spammiest marketing field I have seen so far, because it depends on the creator, on how genuine they want to be with their readers. And they don't want to, the first thing is, they don't want to lose their readers or audience just because they are getting paid by advertisers, because in the long term you want those loyal readers to stick with you and to learn from you or to get value from you, right? So you would eventually want to choose those kind of sponsored ads which give value to your readers and not just to the advertisers. So if I'm since I'm writing a productivity related and creativity related newsletter, since I'm curating these kinds of topics, I would be looking for advertisers who would want to provide value to these kind of audiences. And since mine is a productivity related newsletter, if I come up with something like food related advertisers and I'm selling this food related products on my newsletter, totally disconnected from my readers, they might not be as interested, and I might be seeing a lot of unsubscribes on that day. And I know that that's a reason, right? Because there's no alignment between the sponsored ad and in the readers which I have on my newsletter. So I would suggest whoever is feeling guilty to come out of that, because you need to drop that mindset of having ads only spammy and everything. And the second thing is, you can actually create your own ad. How you want to present the ad is in your hands, because it is your newsletter. The advertiser doesn't have to have the whole control over how the ad is placed in your newsletter. And many publishers follow this practice and highly recommend and strongly suggest to the advertisers that they create the ad in such a way that it is personalized to that writer's audience, not like you just give some copy which has worked for you in the past. It's not like that, but you have to be personalizing it to your readers, so they know, okay, this is coming from you as a writer or as a creator, and this is highly recommended by you, and they respect your opinion, right? So that's how I would suggest your friend to personalize the ads so they don't seem spammy. And yeah, and did I miss any other question?
No, you answered them perfectly, definitely. I'm going to, summarize it quickly for everyone who's watching, how to not feel guilty about running ads on a newsletter. Number one is only run ads that are in your niche. If you are writing already about one topic, only do ads that are from brands in that topic. And second is personalize it in a way that you would write. You don't have to blindly copy whatever words the brand has given you, but write it as if you are writing to your audience. These are very valuable tips. I'm sure they would be really useful to whoever has the feeling of guilt. Because after all, once you start doing collaborations with brands, and if the brand is actually useful, your audience, just give me a moment.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Sorry about that. Yes, now it's done. Okay. So, once you do this collaboration, your audience would also find value from the brand, right? And the brand would get new customers. So it's like a win-win-win situation for you, the brand, as well as your audience. So there is definitely no reason to feel guilty. So thank you, Vidya, for answering that so amazingly. My next question to you is,
Yeah, just
what
one
is
sec.
the day? Yeah, sorry.
Uh, yeah, so just one second before we go forward with the next question, I would like to show one example to the listeners on how actually
Yeah, definitely.
I personalize my sponsored ads, and I'll show you what the copy the advertisers usually give and how you can personalize it for your own readers. Um, yeah, can you see my screen?
Actually, no, cannot see it.
Um, oh, okay, I think. Oh, yeah, I think you can see now. You can see now?
Yes, now it's
Okay.
visible. Maybe you can zoom in
Oh,
a little bit.
yeah, sure.
Yes, this is
So that,
perfect.
okay. Yeah, so this is how I start my newsletter. And the actual copy given by the advertisers is this ad image and this small, 300 or 100 to 300 words. And what I do is before even introducing to the my readers to the advertisers, I usually give my own personal opinion of how I came across the advertiser, how I have found their product useful, and I usually recommend those sponsor ads only when I actually go through the experience myself, so I know whether the reader would like it or not. So this is one example, and in the same way, there's this product called Cradle, and I wanted to since everyone is into podcast right now, so I find myself searching for better podcasts to listen to, so I explain my own experience and then introduce the ad to the reader. So yeah, this is one example.
So this makes a lot of sense, definitely. And I think people who are watching, they can also resonate with it. Like, why, maybe you can mention why you picked this brand, right? Like you mentioned, since you're listening to podcasts, so why you picked it and how you found it. Some personal story to help your reader connect instead of just, throwing an ad in their face.
Yeah, true, exactly.
Yeah. Definitely. So my next question, Vidya, is about growth marketing again. No,
Yeah.
I think we have talked a lot about newsletters so far. Let's talk a little bit about growth marketing. So, what is a day in the life of a growth marketer like? Like, how many hours do you work each day, and how is it divided between work and emails and calls? How does the day look like for you?
Yeah, so recently I've been trying to optimize my own growth marketing schedule. I mean, like my life as a growth marketing marketer. So yeah, I found this perfect kind of rhythm with my professional life. So on Mondays, I usually have this very a lot of energy to work and write some content. So since I'm also a content writer and I'm contributing to the essay organic growth of our Swapstack, I dedicate my Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to do the writing, do the original market research, and see what our competitors are doing and what's working for them. These kind of research and creative output and everything, these kind of things I usually schedule on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And Wednesdays are usually my no meeting days, so that's how I schedule my Mondays and the rest of the days. And the other days, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, I schedule a lot of calls with our users, with our advertisers, with our writers, advertisers, and if there are any case studies which I'm writing, and if I want to get in touch with them or if I want to get back to their emails, I usually do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And for a growth marketer, since most of it has to do with having good communication with your users, or it's very important for you to be present with them and answer their queries on time, and to basically understand their problems or solve their problems. And only when you are your when you have that first point with them, you understand what problems they are going through, that so that you can take these problems, talk with your product team, and understand how you can solve these problems with the help of your product team, and get back to the users and see whether these solutions actually solve their problems or not. So this is how my schedule goes. And when it comes to working hours, um, I wouldn't say there's an exact number of working hours I work every day, but usually it takes around 5 to 6 hours, or even 8 hours when it happens to be a product launch, when we are planning a product launch. So 8 to 10 hours is the maximum I have worked while I was working as a growth marketer. And but yeah, usually 5 to 6 hours is how I work, and rest of the time I'm in that content creation mode, where I try to get more ideas on how I can improve or reach more users for Swapstack. So yeah.
That's really amazing. It sounds so interesting, like a mix of so many different things. And also, you don't take any meetings on Wednesday. So, thank you for agreeing to do this one. I'm sure our audience also appreciates this a lot. On that note, to everyone who's watching this currently, if you have any questions regarding newsletter writing or earning money from your newsletter or how to be a growth marketer, then definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. And coming back to you, Vidya, since you said that you work for like 5 to 6 hours a day, maximum 8 to 10 hours. So I'm curious to know what is the earning potential of a growth marketer? Like how much does a growth marketer usually earn or can earn?
Okay, I will talk about this into probably two perspective or demographics. Actually, in US, from my research, I have found, like when I started this job, I did some research around how much do growth marketers in US actually earn. So the lowest I have seen was $3,000 per month, and the highest I have seen was 10,000 to $12,000 per month. So that highest where you will reach probably with a lot of experience, or with a lot of projects, successful projects in your resume. So yeah, when you're just starting out and you have a little bit of this growth marketing skills, and you have already proved yourself by growing by working on a few growth marketing projects, then you can definitely earn as much as $3,000 per month. And if you are an Indian, I haven't done a lot of research in this Indian growth marketing community, but I think you could probably earn from 40,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees per month as a starting salary, and you can go as high as 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs.
That's really amazing. I hope people here are taking notes because that is definitely a lot of money, and especially since you said it starts at $3,000 for people in the US, and it's really amazing. And I'm so happy that you're open about this and you're talking about this because so many people are not aware of this job role at all, and people might have the skills, but it might remain untapped forever. So people definitely take notes. And the next question is how can a beginner get started with a growth marketing role? Is there any necessary courses or degree or prerequisites to become a growth marketer? What's your take on this?
Um, I actually I'm probably the wrong person to ask about the courses and everything, but I will tell you how I started. How what helped me, and what help is helping me accelerate my career. And when I started this, I did have a little bit of marketing exposure before starting in this job. That's from my previous startup experiments. But if you have the enough interest in solving business problems, for example, since you're a writer, you want to solve a business problem of reaching to more users through your writing, right? So if you have even that kind of small interest in solving business problems, then you could take it up a notch and probably experiment around how do you want to get users without not just content writing, but how do you want to what kind of experiment can you do without, instead of just getting writing the blogs. So these kind of look for solutions where you can come up with something which also gets you users, not just based on the content you're putting out, but also based on the growth experiments which you can come up with. And one of them could be a really big official product hunt launch, or you can also come up with something having an academy. So currently we are working for Swapstack. We are working on a Swapstack academy, and it's not just about writing articles, but it's also about providing resources to the users. So whenever users have these kind of problems, right, they search on the Google, but they don't have any particular website to solve these problems and or answer their questions. So we are trying to build that kind of thing, and this is one of our experiments in the growth marketing field. So you can experiment, go beyond content writing and experiment with all these kinds of launches and try to understand how you can bring more users to the product or company which you're working for, or if you're helping some particular founder grow their profile on LinkedIn or Twitter, then you can understand what kind of experiments you can do to grow their profile. So this is basically how I started, by growing my own profile, by growing Swapstack blog, Swapstack user, the number of publishers who are joining. So yeah, that's one thing. And if we come to courses, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of courses on Coursera or on Udemy, these kind of things. But I have never taken a course, official educational course for growth marketing. And I highly recommend having your own successful case studies, so you can build on those projects and write your own case studies, and approach companies with your case studies, so you can start up as a growth marketer.
No, that's very interesting actually. Like, you haven't done any course, haven't done any certification, but you are being so successful as a growth marketer. That is very interesting. Oh, also, before I forget, talking about success, can you share a little bit about how Swapstack has changed after you joined? Like your case study in Swapstack in brief for our readers to understand the kind of impact a growth marketer can have on a startup.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let me give you one. I do a lot of experiments on Swapstack, but one of the things I, take up is growing our blog organically and growing our website organically and reaching users with through organic marketing. And one of the ways we do is by writing blogs, and one of the important like one of the really challenging things we have faced is what kind of blogs do advertisers read, because advertisers don't have that kind of energy or time to go through blogs and read them. But we wanted to understand what are the search terms which are put by the advertisers who are looking to sponsor newsletters in the Google search terms, right? And it was really difficult to come up with the content strategy for advertisers. Especially for newsletter publishers, it was easy because all they want to understand is how to monetize or how to get sponsors for their newsletter. So it was pretty easy to understand what writers wanted, but it was difficult to understand what advertisers are searching for when they are searching for platforms like Swapstack. And one of the ways we solve that is through blog listicles. And so for example, there's an like I said, there's a newsletter called Morning Brew, right? And there might be and many advertisers sponsor Morning Brew for a very premium ad slots. And one of the ways they actually search for newsletter publishers to search who are not who are beyond Morning Brew is by searching a term like Morning Brew like newsletters, or newsletters like Morning Brew. And this was very difficult for us to understand because I'm not an advertiser myself, so it was very difficult to understand. And when we actually started talking with our users, advertiser who joined as an advertiser, we started understanding more about this, and we started creating more listicles around these kind of topics. Like we created a blog post called 10 top newsletters which are like Morning Brew, and 10 top newsletters in the productivity field or mental health field or real estate, finance, investment field. And we started getting a lot of responses and lot of advertisers joining our platform Swapstack, because they found all these blogs organically on the top 10 results for the queries which they are typing. And let me show you an example of how the blog has increased just through this strategy. So this is the comparison. I hope you can see my screen. This is the comparison chart of when from 6 months into 2021, from June 2021 to December 21, and January 2022 to today, July 2022. So we have started writing and taking our SEO strategy seriously around January, and this so far this has like more than tripled with impressions, and it also increased our average. Reduced our average position, which means that we are on top 10 and 20 articles for every search query we are getting. So yeah, you can see the most of the time I post listicles because that's what's working for us. So we double down on those listicles, and we post these listicles for the advertisers regularly every week, so we can reach more advertisers along with original research and everything, case studies and everything.
That's really crazy that the growth has been so much, and the ideas that you have brought to the table are, I think, they are so valuable. And it's like I'm just surprised that how impactful having a professional growth marketer can be for a startup. So that's definitely something founders also need to think about, right? Because so many people, they don't really pay much attention into like having more reach. They're just focusing on the product, but this is also definitely so important. So, my last question to you, Vidya, today is, if somebody had to, sorry, let me rephrase that. If
Yeah.
you had to retrace your career steps in everything that you did from the beginning to today, is there
Mhm.
anything that you would do differently?
um, yeah, if you, I'm pretty sure I would be eventually finding a new profession in a few years. But yeah, if you want me to retrace my steps, I probably think I would go with doing more individual projects. Especially since I'm in growth marketing right now, I would like to build my own products or help other creators build and grow their products. So that way I can have some case studies to showcase. If I want to change different startups, I can just show those case studies or build a personal brand for myself, so I can get more freelance or consulting clients. So I definitely vote for building more case studies and working on few individual projects to get that first hand experience on growing something. Yeah.
So, working on individual projects, also there's an aspect of publishing your work online, also, right? It's not just
Yeah.
you're working on, you have to showcase your work in some way,
Yeah,
also,
true.
right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I think, what's behind that build in public movement. You're not just building on your own, but you're also showcasing it to the public and sharing your knowledge, insights, and everything, so that you're in front of whoever is into your field. So you're just creating your own personal brand there.
Definitely. So we have one question from the audience. This question is from Srikant. The question is, Srikant is a newsletter writer and they plan to write articles every day, but they're not unable to do as they planned. I think the issue is not being able to be consistent with their newsletter. So do you have any
Okay.
suggestions on somebody who is struggling to be consistent with with publishing their newsletter?
Yes, definitely. Two things. I'm pretty sure Srikanth is passionate about whatever he's writing. So if that's not the reason why you're not consistent, then we'll move on to second point. But if you're not, the main thing is if you're not passionate about something, then you are definitely going to fall behind, being consistent in everything. And if you're trying to write about too many topics, that is also one of the reason why you couldn't be, consistent. But these reasons are not applicable to you. The second important suggestion is that what happened the main advantage with newsletter writing or even social media posting is that you have so many tools right now that you can actually schedule them so far into the future, right? So if you have a weekly newsletter going out, you can schedule your post by working on it 1 week ahead. So I would suggest you to put a whole week aside for your newsletter, and find that time for yourself where you can just sit and write content for your newsletter or blog articles. That could also work, but for newsletter I would suggest you to put some time aside and work on your newsletters for the next week. And if you could also get in the content for the next 2 weeks, that would also help you with being consistent. And one of the other things is you don't have enough information on your hands right now to write and post and schedule it into the future. So the next thing is to find the relevant content you want to write about. So I would suggest you to make a list of titles you want to write about, or a list of articles you want to curate, so you can write about them, write some kind of gist, or explain with examples and everything, and schedule them away into the future. You don't have to post it tomorrow or today, like today, but you can definitely schedule into the future. So I would suggest you to start using these tools where you can schedule the newsletters ahead into the future, so you have enough time to do the research again, write again, or schedule them again. So every week you can be 1 week ahead and be consistent as well, so that you don't have the pressure of, okay, I should send it tomorrow. You don't have to have that pressure when you schedule the newsletters.
Yeah, these were so valuable, and I think I also agree with the same. Like, you can't write every day or you can't write every week, but whenever you can, write it down and schedule it in advance so you don't have to miss out on sending an issue. And definitely, do ideation, because ideation helps. Even if you're a newsletter writer or any other writer, writing down ideas that you want to write about, that is, I think, the first step to being a content creator and online writer, right? So thank you, Vidya, for sharing this take. I'm sure it was helpful for Shrikant as well. And that brings us to the end of this talk session. I hope the people who are watching, you had taken a lot of notes, because Vidya shared so many valuable items with us. And I hope you learned as much as I did, and I hope you had fun. And Vidya, thank you so much for taking out time and answering all my questions patiently.
Yeah, thank you, Anangsha, for having me, and thanks for everyone for all the support and hellos, and to Srikant for asking me an interesting question.
All right. Thank you, Vidya. So that brings us to the end of this show. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. Next week, I'm going to be back with another amazing guest. So make sure you stay tuned for that as well. For now, signing off. But if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask them in the comments. And I've also shared the link to subscribe to Vidya's newsletter in the comment. It's called The Curious Bunch. So definitely check it out.